Ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, non-binary pals, and a technical rainbow in between, this is Modular Media Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Chris Boingo Writer Gaston, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner.
The Modular King of the Content Ring, the Vacuum Eater, here again to discuss some good old wrestling.
Specifically, the wrestling we liked in this week, because we're not sycophants who think we can watch everything involving the great sport of pro wrestling and thinking, oh, we can talk about all of it, us two knuckleheads who have never taken a bump in a ring whatsoever.
I mean, maybe you aren't, but I might have watched a little more than is healthy this week.
I mean, I've looked at the list of stuff you kind of want to talk about, and I've seen some of it, but also, like, boy.
You're judging me a little bit for that one thing, aren't you?
No, not really. There's one thing I go like, yeah, that was a fun clip. We'll get to a lot of this. But, yeah. So, wrestling. No one's disappointed us this week with Sex Scandal.
For the most part.
I mean, what could, like, honestly, what could have disappointed us this week after so many things?
That's fair. That's very fair. I mean, it is a holiday weekend. There's not a lot that can go wrong aside from, families trying to kill each other, both directly and indirectly with COVID-19. So there, I just got the podcast flag again.
I mean, unless the gobbledygooker come out as a huge sex pest like certain other wrestlers, but
that is entirely possible. So is that your way of transitioning into Survivor Series?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you watch anything from Survivor Series?
No. I've seen the picture of the Undertaker doing the urn thing to the hologram of Paul Bearer.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cute. That's nice. That's a sweet little moment.
Yeah.
But then I also saw the edit of all the Trump flags.
Oh, that was a great meme for that like day and a half that it lasted. Yeah, no, I watched the whole show.
I'm sorry.
I hate myself.
I'm so sorry.
I don't know why. I thought maybe, after not watching a full WWE show all year, I might have developed a palate for it. Like, maybe it would somehow be okay now. And no, it was actually way worse. Like, Survivor Series is already a dumb concept in the modern era because they do the whole brand warfare thing. But, like, most of the matches in this show were terrible. Just, like, very half-assed, no stakes at all, and stupidly booked endings. Roman versus Drew was okay. I didn't hate it. And then Undertaker's Farewell, which took a fucking hour because it was mostly entrances, was I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was just like, wow, we waited all night for this. Okay. I mean, I wasn't expecting the guy to get, like, teared up and break character and, like, say how much he loves the fans or something like that, but the fact that because I don't know if you know the full breakdown, but it's like they have all these legends come out in the ring, all these friends and, like, former adversaries of the I almost said Undertaker. The Undertaker come down to the ring, do their full entrances, and they're all just chilling out and high-fiving in the ring for a couple seconds. And then they play this video package of, like, the greatest moments from the Undertaker's career set to Now That We're Dead by Metallica. And then Vince is in the ring, and he's, like, half tearing up, half bored out of his mind sounding, and he's going like, so we're gonna bring out for the last time one of the greatest people in the entire business, the Undertaker. And then everything goes black and Vince is gone from the ring, and then Undertaker's entrance happens, and it's one of the coolest ones of his entrances I've seen. They did some neat flourishes on it just to, like, top it off for the final time. But then he gets in the ring and he just says, "So yeah, I'm gonna rest in peace." And then he does all his poses, and you get the hologram Paul Bearer, and then he just leaves. And I'm like, that was it.
So
You advertised you sold the entire show on that, and that was it.
You know what would have been cool? If every single member of the roster was a druid.
That would have been great.
And as he says, rest in peace, they all take down their hoods. And, like, they face the ramp like he does and raise his arm like he does.
That would have been a neat touch. That would have been like a Mania level moment, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to do that because COVID concerns.
Survivor Series is a Mania level pay-per-view, though.
That's true.
It's one of WWE's big four.
Yeah.
I love how you have to specify. No, these are big pay-per-views. They're not just pay-per-views.
These are big boy pay-per-views.
See, these guys will put hair on your chest.
Suggesting that about any WWE show nowadays. No,
that puts hair on their back because you're getting old and bored because of it.
Yeah, that was literally the end of Survivor Series. That as Undertaker walks to the back of the building, that's the fade out. And it was okay. I don't know. I think they're probably like saving all the emotional speeches and stuff for when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame in like 3 or 4 years, but it was still like, wow, you sold an entire show on entrances. Fantastic.
I mean, name a better entrance than The Undertaker.
I mean, I can name better themes, but I don't know about entrance overall.
Undertaker entrance hurt Johnny Cash. That's the best entrance ever.
That's true.
Come on.
Also, the Gobbledygooker did win the 24/7 title because Gobbledygooker debuted 30 years ago too. So I mean, it was nice that they did that little moment.
Yeah, I mean that Gobbledygooker should be a thing that no one lets WWE forget about.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm just gonna say it, Mattel. If by some happenstance one of your employees is watching, now is the time. WWE Legends Gobbledygooker action figure. Let's make that happen.
Just make it a ringside collectible.
Yeah.
Just make it exclusive. Because no one's going to want to buy that in stores. But you know who's going to want to buy that? Every dumb diehard wrestling fan who buys their figures from ringside collectibles.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't give a crap about that era of wrestling, but I would buy that figure just because it's an action figure of the Gobbledygooker.
Come on. It's silly. It's great. And you know what's also silly and great? BTE.
Yeah, BTE was fun this week. There was a lot of really good segments, but we picked out some of the best highlights for you folks. Starting off with a cute little bit that opened it up, just teasing the fact that Chris Statlander is coming back from injury soon. And we got to see her and Orange Cassidy meet up backstage again.
I didn't watch BTE. How's she looking?
She's not in her gear. She's in street clothes, but she is fine. I actually follow her on Instagram, and she's been posting workout videos lately, like saying, okay, I'm able to lift this much weight now. I'm this close to being able to get back in the ring. And I think her last post that was like at the start of this month, and she said it's like another 3 to 5 months.
It's fair. But when in 3 to 5 months, when she comes back in and it's fucking wins division is because man, it's getting so good. It's getting so packed.
It's fixing to pop off, bro. We were so right to defend it for that long and say they were just simmering in the background.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy about that.
And I love hearing people's reaction. It's just going like, wait, they're actually doing it? Yeah. They're actually doing it. What you do? They lie? Does AEW lie?
Have they ever lied before? I mean, it depends on if you ask CM Punk or not. I don't think they've ever before. Anyways, there was a great bit after that where the Young Bucks went to find their book at Barnes and Noble, and they did actually find their book. They signed a bunch of copies at their local Barnes and Noble and just put them back on the shelves. But they did this hilarious bit where they moved a copy to the romance section because if you look at the cover of that book, the way they're posed, and Matt finds it, and they do the bit where it's like they're just coming across it, and Matt's like, "Oh, hey, look, there it is. Listen, come on, let's buy it. This is great. We found our book in a store." And Nick's like, "Why is it in the romance section? What, Matt? Do you not what? What?" It's
Oh
great.
man. Oh man, that's funny. That's a good bit because that cover is very incestuous.
Yeah.
It has a very
Uh,
slash fic vibe,
it does, but hey, that's gonna sell copies.
especially because they're
Um,
looking at each other's penises.
mhm.
Penises.
Um, and then we find out that they're still using the Michael Nakazawa explanation for people slipping on the ring. Literally, there's a bit where like Brandon Cutler or somebody is filming around the ring, just setting up, and then they see Michael Nakazawa putting baby oil on the ring, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Shit, gotta get out of here." And then it cuts to um, Dynamite from last week, Trent falling during his match, and it's like, "Oh, there's going to be a match." And then that match happened later the next day on Dark, which is pretty great. I like that they're not just letting those botches happen. They're actually putting in a, dare I say it, lore explanation for it and building little storylines out of it. It's so great and so savvy.
Especially because like Michael Nakazawa is known for that. That's his gimmick. He's an oil wrestler, which is a genuine form of like wrestling. It's not like some weird like wacky. No, it's real. He does make it wacky, but like look up Turkish wrestling. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
There's a Street Fighter character that uses it.
Mm.
But doing that to give people minor programs is like, oh hey, you botched a thing, mistakes happen, but here have a match with Michael Nakazawa to kind of basically
Bounce back.
bounce back from it, but also give an explanation for why it was, so you don't look like a goofball.
Yeah.
You look like a
It's
serious person who got like tricked by the machinations of Michael Nakazawa. You know,
it's it's so smart and it works, especially with a serious character like Trent, um, who is kind of the odd man out in Best Friends. Where
he's
like
the straight
Chucky
man.
T, wacky funny guy, Orange Cassidy doesn't give a shit about anything unless you really piss him off, and then Trent's just always there in the background, like, well, how did I end up with these two? Okay, let's go.
Oh man, I'm loving so much of what's going on with Trent, especially with like Miro just constantly calling him young boy.
Mm,
Like you were
that's
beneath me once, you will always be beneath me. I love that little texture to like that little group of dynamic in AEW.
yeah. Um, But then we went on to a big Dark Order bit for the week, which was them doing their version of Thanksgiving, which is them all around the table in the lair, eating chilies and saying what they're thankful for. And it's like the most wacky things ever. I think somebody said they were thankful that Alan Angels finally cut his hair, and Alan Angels was like, "You fuckers cut my hair. I didn't want to cut it," and shit like that. Um, it's just a good little bit endearing you to the Dark Order that much more, and also because John Silver kind of dominated it, and has kind of dominated a lot of Dark Order bits this week. I think they are sort of positioning him as a potential new leader for the group in Brody Lee's absence.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say new leader. I would say more of like temporary figurehead,
Mhm.
because like I would say Evil Uno is the leader. He's coming up with the plans. John Silver's just out there being scrappy you going, come on, come on.
So, like, Evil Uno is the Red Ranger, John Silver is the Sixth Ranger.
To an extent, everybody loves John Silver and they want to see him out and doing stuff. Whenever he's gone, people always ask, where's John Silver?
Yeah. Johnny Hungy, let's do it. Um, but then after that, there was a bit with the Young Bucks and Top Flight talking shortly after their match. Basically, Top Flight being like, wow, that was so great to have that match with you guys. We've been watching you since we were 10 years old. And Matt Jackson is like, excuse me, 10 you've been watching us since you were 10 years old. Wow, I feel old now, Nick. And he's like, and Nick's like, yeah, I bet so, especially with that beard you've been growing. And Matt just looks at him like, um, and then Matt Hardy comes in and he starts putting over the two of them, the two groups, but in the most backhanded way possible. He's like, yeah, you guys are great, but really, Top Flight, you're inspired by the Young Bucks, who were inspired by me and my brother Jeff. And, we inspired so many tag teams today. With my old independent promotion from when I was a kid, Powered, we inspired Tony Khan to take a chance on independent pro wrestling. So really, I'm responsible for all of this. None of us would be here right now if it wasn't for me. And that's the truth. And the truth is the truth, which seems to be his new catchphrase, because he did that in a couple other bits after that. Like, he pretended to be Penta L0M in one bit, and then surprised the Young Bucks that it was him, and talked about how he's inspired luchadors to exist.
Goddamn, this feels like a big mix between Big Money Matt and V1.
I think so.
I
think
great little mix with those two.
Mm-hmm. But then we had the funniest bit of this week's BTE, because John Silver held a one-chip challenge to determine the number one contender for his BTE championship, which was a bunch of lower card guys in AEW doing the one-chip challenge around the table with various people supporting them, trying to encourage them to go on. And the whole thing was like, you eat the chip, and if you drink milk, that's a tap out. And you got to see how long you can go. And it was just hilarious in a way I can't really describe. Like, if you like watching videos of people eating spicy foods like I do, I love hot ones. I love watching, one of my favorite video series of all time is Cow Chop's Spice Gauntlet. I used to watch those videos all the time just because I found their reactions to the spice hilarious. And also, it's doubly hilarious for me because I can't handle spice at all. So I'm like, I know how much pain they're probably going through. And this had a similar effect to that to me, especially because it's all these big, muscly wrestle boys just sitting there after eating one red chip going like...
Know what's the best thing is? Look, there's a clip of Daniel Bryan eating that chip and no selling it.
Oh, I've got to find that.
And like he ate it, and the person he was eating with was like, "You don't feel that? It's not hurting." And he went like, "Oh no, it hurts. I'm a wrestler, though. You have to learn how to not show pain."
But the real MVP of this segment was Ricky Starks, because he eats his chip and then the whole time he's just sitting there doing selling for his character, like doing the whole thing from his entrance. And Rick Knox is standing right behind him like, man, this guy's a champ. Look at this guy go. Look at him go. And then 10 minutes later, they find half the chip underneath his wrapper. And they're like, what the fuck, Ricky? And they have to check the footage to make sure that he didn't eat it. And so they're like, okay, no one's tapping out. It's been like 20 minutes and we found this half a chip that's left. Whoever eats the half a chip, you automatically win. And Trent just runs up, looks at it for 2 seconds, and then eats it.
God damn it.
So Trent is now the number one contender for the BTE championship, and we will see whatever that contest is going to be next week.
A thing he didn't even want.
Yeah, that's the hilarious part is he keeps going, I don't even want this. They're roping me into this, but it's like the feud that's establishing this belt is him and Gonzo.
Too bad I can't you can't go do things because of deadly disease, or you know what would be fun? Mini golf.
Mm-hmm. Oh, could you imagine them taking this belt on the Indies?
Oh God.
Ugh. Um, but then I guess we're just gonna go ahead and move on to the next thing because that was the last thing on BT this week, and I don't imagine you watched this.
No, but I did hear about it that Alexa Bliss kind of debuted as her spoopy Harley Quinn.
Yeah. So, if you're not aware, for the last few weeks, there has been a storyline on Raw where, after taking possession of her on SmackDown, Bray Wyatt has come to Raw with Alexa Bliss, and Nikki Cross has kind of followed in pursuit, like, you took my friend, give me my friend back. And Alexa's clearly out of it. She's clearly under Bray's influence. It's a very big allegory for abusive relationships that's apparently heavily inspired by the Harley Quinn Joker relationship.
Or could it be
Which
Punchline now?
potentially, but I don't think WWE writers are that current with comics.
You probably go like,
Um,
"Hey, is this kind of like Punchline? Who? What's a Punchline?"
uh, Jesus. Um,
How do you feel about Punchline as a DC boy?
I have not read much of the actual stories with her, but I think it's an interesting concept, especially with what little I've seen of like panels of her and Harley interacting, and Harley being like, in 10 years when you realize that he's a piece of shit, we're going to be really good friends. But right now I'm going to punch you in the face. But nothing there that's nearly as head scratching as this, because I'm just going to come out and say it. This is a great concept for a story that they are fucking up. Because the whole thing on this episode of Raw is Nikki Cross is fed up. She has tried and tried to get through to Alexa, and clearly Alexa doesn't want help. She just wants to embrace the darkness. So they're going to have this big blow-off match, and Nikki's going to beat the shit out of her, and that's going to be it. Bliss Cross Applesauce is over after tonight. And the match happens, and immediately after like 2 moves from Nikki, Alexa starts crying and freaking out and saying she doesn't know where she is, how she got here, asking what's happening. And Nikki and the ref just stand there like doofuses, and they're like, what do we do? What do we do? And finally, Nikki, after like 2 minutes of this, Nikki goes up to try and hug her and be like, it's okay. And Cross just Snapdragon suplexes her and pins her and wins, and that's it. And like, this pissed me off so much because, first of all, if you're trying to do a storyline about somebody being in an abusive relationship and their friend trying to help them, you don't do the I'm pissed off because my friend won't listen to me trying to help them angle. Especially if that person is supposed to be the babyface. And I'm pretty sure Nikki was supposed to be the babyface in this situation, because how can somebody trying to help their friend out of an abusive relationship not be the babyface?
But also, isn't the Fiend like a tweener now because he's fighting Retribution?
Yeah, but Retribution also was barely on Raw last week and wasn't on Raw at all this week. They're like on their way out.
Oh God.
Yeah, for Ollie. But anyway, it just, like, speaking as somebody who has experience of helping people in abusive relationships, this immediately made me go like, oh, Nikki's an asshole. I don't want to root for her because she's giving up on her friend so quickly. Like, she tried 3 times and now she's like, 3 strikes, you're done. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Like, you don't seem like a good person to me now. Sorry. And then that whole thing in the ring where Alexa's doing crocodile tears and they're just standing there like doofuses, I'm like, well, clearly these are crocodile tears. Nobody should be taking this seriously. But also, WWE refs are told to treat matches like a shoot. So why is this ref not immediately throwing out the match? Why is he just standing there going like, well, I don't know what to do. This woman is crying. Well, she's supposed to be fighting this other woman. Clearly, she's mentally incompetent, having some kind of mental episode. Throw out the match and get the paramedics out here, dude.
With how
Like, if
much
that was
with that,
real, you should be fired.
with how much WWE loves DQ finishes, it's a fucking easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Um,
But yeah,
so,
whatever. She debuts. She's Harley Quinn, even more so. NWA
yeah.
has a new show planned.
Yeah, they announced that starting next week, they are going to be doing a new Tuesday night show. NWA Power, I guess, is just dead and gone. We're never getting it back. So RIP to that. But they are now going to be doing NWA Shockwave. And I'm actually kind of excited about this because it's supposed to be new matches in a different format. And it's going to be made partly in collaboration with OWN. Um, and I remember there was an interview with Nick Aldis back when Power was sort of at its height of popularity, where he said that, like, we're not always going to be doing the 70s throwback. We do eventually want to move forward and do tributes to different eras of wrestling, because the whole idea is NWA kind of faded out during the 80s and never got to experience the 90s or the 2000s. So Billy Corgan wanted to have shows that were exemplative of what NWA would have been during those times. So Power was if NWA had a TV show during the 80s. And I'm thinking Shockwave is going to be like a mix of WCW Nitro and Raw is War.
I mean, it has that similar kind of name because Raw and War is kind of like big, bombastic. Again, Nitro, it was on TNT, that kind of stuff. And even then, we have Dynamite.
Yeah. And I am really interested to see how they handle having no crowds, because I know they've done a couple of matches that were like Fight TV exclusive. That's where Serena Deeb won the NWA Women's Championship, but I haven't watched any of those, so I don't know if they're like putting wrestlers in the crowd or doing crowd sweetening or anything like that. But it'll be interesting to see what their take on that is. And
Know
I'm
what
assuming this is going to be a new free YouTube show, so if it is, I will watch at least the first episode.
Would be interesting? Because
What's
here's the
that?
thing: Tony Khan and Billy Corgan, they've been working together. They have a semi-working relationship. What if they
AEW wrestlers on Shockwave?
not just that? What if they borrow Daly's place for like a big match?
Ooh, that could be interesting.
You know, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
you're here to watch Dynamite and some recordings of Dark, everybody, but our friends at NWA wanted to put on a show for you guys. So as your as like your final main event, not for the TV, but your main event, here's Nick Aldis with the title, defending it.
That would be cool. Bit pie in the sky, but I would definitely love to see it.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be cute. It's the thing. It's a idea that you can see everything lining up to do it, but probably won't happen.
Mm-hmm. So how much of Dark did you watch this week?
None.
Okay, so I'll run down the highlights really quick. So Leva Bates cut a promo after the first match, where she basically said that she is going to be moving into the women's division as more of a regular competitor. She is now the sole librarian in AEW, and she's ready to stop chasing after Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler, and she's going to be her own woman. And it was a pretty good little babyface promo. I'm excited to see where they take her character from here. I've always low-key liked Leva ever since she debuted on BTE, and I wanna see her actually kind of get something to do in the women's division beyond just being there with Peter and Brandon. So
Right.
I'm hoping that goes somewhere. Then Trent and Michael Nakazawa had their match. Trent, of course, won, but it was an absolutely hilarious match because of the commentary, because Michael Nakazawa did all of his gimmicks. He had lube in both the front and the back of his trunks. He did the thong thing, and the ref kept trying to stop him and be like, no, we're not doing that bullshit. Get out of here. And every time he did something Taz and Anthony Ogogo just lost it. They were laughing their asses off because they had never seen that before. And they were just like, what the fuck? What is going on? And at one point, I believe when he started taking off the thong, Anthony Ogogo just stopped. And like a minute later, Taz notices and he's like, oh no, I think we broke Anthony.
It's great that he's on commentary right now, getting some promo rep because yeah, he probably is pretty good. I have a feeling he's green, but he can do some things in the ring because
Yeah.
he was already a combat athlete, so like it's relatively he can take experiences and apply them to another thing. But promo time is probably his biggest weakness as a performer would be.
And he's also just got one of the most unique voices on commentary right now because he has such a thick and distinctive British accent. Which
I'm trying to remember.
I know.
I think he's like from North England. I think it is. I don't remember.
I mean, it sounds very similar to Marty Scurll, so that might like put some people off considering Marty Scurll's current standing in the wrestling community. But like, yeah, I just thought like, wow, I don't hear a British accent this thick on commentary ever. Even when I'm watching like NXT UK, the one or two times I do that a year.
Yeah, because I think they speak with more received pronunciation. I think it's called, which is more of like the high like. This is the accent you learn when you're trying to be professional, kind of thing. And like all the British people that are in AEW are like, nah, they have very weird, distinct British accents. Like Pac, like he has
Nobody sounds like they're from the same place. It's not like here's all the British people we got from this one school.
yeah, no, because Pac sounds completely different than Anthony. And then you have like one South African dude, two Mexican guys. One of them can speak English, one of them can't.
It's an interesting mix. But then Lance Archer comes out and basically does this whole promo talking about how he's sick of being just left alone to do bullshit on Dark. He wants to get some of that smoke, if you know what I mean. And he is throwing down a gauntlet to the AEW locker room. Nobody can stand against him, and he's going to be making his presence felt very soon. Foreshadowing might. And then we got Tay Conte on the waiting room with Britt Baker, where she basically clarified that it is pronounced Tay, not Ty, as some people do. And then they tried to pressure her into admitting to some heelish tactics, and then they asked like who some of her favorite people to work with in the women's locker room was, and she never mentioned Britt, and they were all kind of shocked. And she said like, oh, but I love our women's champion. She's so nice and supportive of everyone. And they were like, how dare you speak nicely of this person we don't like? Very much like a Mean Girls kind of thing. And then when Britt started going off on her, Rebel was immediately like, and now here's our musical guest, The Acclaimed, everybody. And they came out and everybody started rapping together, which was pretty hilarious.
See, I've just seen like tiny clips and segments of that of Britt Baker's new talk show bit, and just okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a nice little thing that is very well put together, especially because I didn't realize until I saw a behind the scenes photo of them setting up this week. They're actually shooting that at ringside. I thought that was like a set somewhere backstage, but no, they like wheel it out and put it next to the ring, and the audience of wrestlers is sitting in the ring while they're doing that show.
That's ridiculous, and I love it. It's so stupid.
Yeah. And then the last thing I have for Dark this week is Peter Avalon has finally gotten a win. His entire career in AEW, he has been a jobber loser guy, and he went and beat Fuego del Sol this week.
Now he's the jobber loser guy.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of has been for a while if you watch Sammy Guevara's vlogs. That's kind of there's a huge running joke with him where he's like, oh man, I almost had that. I could have won. I was getting set up to do a tornado DDT, and nobody can tap out of that. And everybody backstage is like, when's he gonna do the tornado DDT? That move's awesome. He's got to do it. There's even a whole thing where like Cody keeps hyping him up before every match and going like, come on, man, you can do it. Tonight's the night. You're gonna do the tornado DDT. And then he comes out after losing the match, and Cody's just like, don't even fucking look at me.
Fucking perfect. Cody, when he's trying to, like, Cody is great at those comedy bits, but I think he's only that great because it's so far in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was dark this week. Not the most eventful episode ever, but some interesting stuff happening. And then before we get on to the big pile of stuff, we gotta stop at Impact real quick because
they had a special phenomenal guest.
The funniest fucking thing, man, because Carl Anderson comes out and he's like, yeah, Luke Gallows isn't here this week, Ethan Page, and I know I'm feuding with you and your tag team partner, it's the North versus the Good Brothers right now, but we can't have a match because my partner's not here. But I made a phone call and I got a friend here. And AJ Styles' old Impact theme starts playing. And then Swoggle walks out in fucking AJ Styles cosplay, and they call him the Wee Nominal One.
That's fucking perfect. It's beautiful.
And to make it even better, Swoggle then squashes Ethan Page after like 3 moves.
What the fuck?
It was hilarious. Genuinely, Swoggle is getting some of the best work of his career right now with this and his recent appearance on Dynamite, and I'm so happy for the guy.
Oh, man. I mean, when he was on Dynamite, I was like, man, with his hair like that, he kind of reminds me of AJ Styles. I mean, it works. I mean, that's probably what Vince saw AJ Styles when he was first brought up, when he was all the way back in Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy's just a midget. He's tiny and short.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's cute. It's great. They probably called AJ and said, hey, man, we're doing this. And I was like, fuck yeah, do it.
I bet so.
Oh, man. I bet he got an earful, though, backstage in WWE. It's like, why would you, what's going on with this? Did you know about this? No, I didn't know about this. Why would I know about this? You had your gloves. Yeah, you sold them on the shop.
That's, I'm just imagining fucking Don Callis getting a box from WWE shop now. With the AJ Styles gear.
Kid size.
Like, oh man, this is way too big. Can we get one of the gear people to let these in?
But nah, that was cute. It's nice to see Swoggle. I think he's happy. I don't want to say he's happy. Where he's at in the world of wrestling it just seems like a nice place to be. Everybody kind of generally goes like, yeah, no, you got a raw deal, but you're generally kind of a cool dude. I want to hang out with you. Let's do some stuff.
And it seems like he's kind of come into his own as a career man now because he's a single dad. He runs his own promotion with a friend in his hometown, but then also he's going to indie shows all over the States, and he pops up on both WWE and other companies every once in a while, just whenever they need somebody of his size, and he's available.
Also, just kind of like, hey, we want to make a reference to the past, and you're like a big part of a large part of WWE. Do you want to be in a segment? Like, remember when Adam Bompier on Wrestle Talk did the What If Vince McMahon retired from WWE? What would they do? And he had Triple H go like, here's a message from Vince McMahon's son, and then it was Swoggle making a video, Hornswoggle making a video message, and said, oh, Vince would love that. That's the kind of thing WWE does. They bring someone in because it's like, oh, it's a cheap pop, but like also he's a part of the history. It's like throwing Ambush Bug in the background of the Justice League.
It's like to throw a tangent into another fandom. I remember back during Power Rangers Super Mega Force, when the first past Ranger to show up was Jaden, the Red Ranger from Power Rangers Samurai, and they literally said, "Oh, Jaden, you're well legendary." And everyone on the internet got up in arms about that. Like, don't call Jaden legendary. He was a terrible Red Ranger. And he's like, yeah, but he's still a Red Ranger like everybody else in the history of the show. So he has a right to be called legendary, the same as Jason Lee Scott has a right to be called legendary.
Yeah, like they do the same thing with Godfather, and and Farouk
Mm-hmm.
and people like that. So, but I think we've done this bit enough. Let's
Yeah.
go on. Let's go on to the big boy, the meaty boy, the who
Oh
boy.
my God. This was the most dense dynamite in a while.
It's because it's a go home show for what is essentially a TV pay per view.
Next week, winter is coming, war is here, as they've been advertising on Twitter for the last couple days.
I still find it extremely hilarious that they are using that old ass fucking meme
Hmm.
to. Oh hey, I got a subscriber on my YouTube channel.
Hey!
What's up? But you're using an old ass meme to fucking hype up a new show, and it's just like I get it. It is winter. You haven't had a winter thing, so you need something. And there's Cody right there, and he's a big Game of Thrones fan.
But I'm also like barely thinking of Game of Thrones because I never watched that show. I'm just like, oh man, that line is still badass in this context. That's great.
Yeah, no, I just find it like it's also AEW's on TNT, who's owned by Turner, who's owned by WB, who owns HBO. So like it's synergy and it's corporate.
Chris, is this gonna turn into one of your hippie rants?
No, I'm just sounding like it.
uh,
I just think it's a subpar name for what is going to be a bang ass show, and they could have. Now that I think about it, it's fucking par for the course for AEW because they made fucking Fighter Fest.
yeah,
And who remembers Fire Fest?
I mean, AW fans do now.
God damn it. We're going to be the only ones in 10 years whenever a new Fighter Fest happens. Hey, Fighter Fest! Why is it called Fighter Fest? Oh god, we
Go
gotta
watch the
explain.
documentary. Go watch the documentary.
There's two of them.
I
Which
have
one?
I haven't watched either of them.
Yeah. But no, winter's coming. We have a go home angle show. So a bunch of go home stuff. First things off, we have the opening contest, which I didn't know was going to be the opening contest. Hangman Adam Page versus Johnny Hungy Silver.
Literally, I was so hyped for this when they announced it on Twitter. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be the match of the year. I fucking love both these guys. Let's fucking go. Um, and it wasn't, but it was a solid opening contest. Neither of them looked all that weak. It wasn't like, oh, Hangman's all the way down at the bottom of the card now, so he's just bleh. And it wasn't like, oh, here John Silver's getting his shot against this guy who's on his way down the card. It was like, no, both these guys are still great. They can still go, and they're telling a story about how both these guys kind of need a win right now.
Yeah, but also it's showing that Adam Page is basically kind of trying to get out of a stupor. He's like it. I don't want to say it's post Demon in a Bottle Tony Stark, but it's very much that kind of shit. What have I been doing?
No, he's in like the latter half of Demon in a Bottle right now. Like he's not the Silver Centurion yet.
No, the best way to put it is he just woke up from a nap and he's looking at his room and it's covered in garbage and there's several whiskey bottles everywhere and he's just going like, I need to clean up. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
that he's in that dawning of realization. It's like, oh, and
Yeah.
fight John Silver. John Silver just being fucking John Silver, going like, hey, look, my muscles are bigger than yours.
Yeah.
Because I am an action figure and you are a regular human portion person.
I love how he came out with the whole Dark Order and he's wearing like a Brody Lee like jacket, and he goes out in the ring and it's like, wow, this is the most badass Dark Order has looked in a while, and it's John Silver leading the charge. I love it.
I mean, they also look badass in the penultimate main event.
Mm-hmm. Um, but yeah, no, this is a great match. Hangman eventually won with the pin after a buckshot lariat, and then Dark Order came back out, helped John Silver, and Evil Uno. Already, he just gets on the mic and he's like, "Hey, you got pretty short end of the stick there with those elite fellas, and it's pretty cult-like attitudes with them not letting you leave for that long. Maybe maybe you ought to come to the Dark Order because we're always going to be here for you, buddy." Yep. Still keeping up that long-running angle of Hangman maybe potentially wanting to join the Dark Order.
And Colt Cabana's just there in the background and go like, "Yeah, come on, let's hang out."
Mm-hmm. Because Colt Cabana's still delusional about the Dark Order.
I fucking like that's one of my favorite bits. It's just like, oh hey, here's the Dark Order, all these spoopy dudes with lucha masks and like face paint and all this stuff, and then there's Colt Cabana, happy-go-lucky smile on his face, going like, "Hey, what's up, guys?
These are my friends.
Hey, we got chilies."
It's good times. It's good times.
I asked him to make it kosher.
But then we go backstage, and Alex Marvez is talking to Kenny Omega. He says he asks him how he's feeling, and Omega says he basically goes on this whole promo about how the more things change, the more they stay the same. Moxley has not changed all that much. He's still the same garbage wrestler as always, and he's not going to be able to win in a straight wrestling match. But Omega also needs the title in order to be considered the best, so he tells Mox to leave the garbage wrestling at home and to beat him square in the center of the ring. And then there's like this little pause, and Kenny just launches into the most playground insult of all time, saying like, last week your dad sounded pretty tough in that story, but I bet my dad could beat the shit out of him.
It's such a petty thing, and it works for this AEW version of the Cleaner, who puts on the big airs of being like, "Oh no, I'm the best in the world. I'm the best in the world. I have all these matches to prove it and back it up." But he's insecure and has to have this big flashy entrance with silhouettes and dancers and brooms, and it's like, no, I need to show I'm the best in the world by putting all this airs around me. I'm wearing a suit now, like Cody. I'm wearing glasses all the time, even though it's fucking dark as shit at 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Florida.
Look at the sexy dancers.
But it shows that insecurity in Kenny Omega, and just having to go like, yeah, and also that one point that was meant to be a heartfelt like reminder of your own mortality and upcoming fatherhood, and wasn't meant to be like a slight at me. Fuck you, it's a slight at me. My dad's better than yours.
Yeah. And he doesn't even explain why his dad is better than his. He's just like, nah, my dad would beat the shit out of yours.
He's Kenny Alpha.
Yes. But then we get an announcement on commentary that Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes will be taking on Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs next week in the big pay-per-view-esque show. How do you feel about this name?
I like it because it's presented very much as like a nickname. It's presented very much of like Cody the American Nightmare Rhodes.
See,
Kenny the Cleaner Omega.
See, I agree and I disagree with that because I like the idea of it as a nickname, but I don't think they're presenting it as a nickname because they don't say Powerhouse Will Hobbs, they just say Powerhouse Hobbs. And I get that there's maybe a timing thing to it, but it would just sound better to me if it was Powerhouse Will Hobbs or even Will Powerhouse Hobbs.
I'm pretty sure that's how like Taz said. It's like, yeah, no. And also, you got to realize Will Hobbs turned heel to join Team Taz. So it's kind of like to cement his heel turn, really kind of like go like, no, this is his character now. If he was just Will Hobbs, you'd be going like, oh, is he gonna? No, he's powerhouse Will Hobbs. He's our powerhouse now.
That's fair. I like the idea that like he's no longer running on willpower because he doesn't need it. He is a powerhouse.
Yeah, there's also that symbolism, but like him being in Team Taz just fucking works, especially with his gear.
Mm-hmm. He looks like he comes out for a match later, and he looks like the angriest caveman you've ever seen in your life.
But also, it's like a big Taz reference because that was what Taz's old gear looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they're kind of presenting he's like, no, Brian Cage is something. Brian Cage is himself. Ricky Starks is himself. Will Hobbs, Taz sees something in him that reminds him of himself, and that's a pet project of his.
I like that, yeah.
That's what it kind of feels like, especially with the way he was like going like, hey, man, you won. Go take care of yourself now. After the end of Will Hobbs' match, but like I am enjoying this turn way more than I thought I would, especially with the way Will Hobbs is kind of presenting himself in match.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Darby Allin did one of his Jackass videos. I don't mean like Jackass as in like, oh, he's a jackass. I mean like Jackass and it's like the TV show Jackass.
He is emo. He is an emo Jackass sketch just every week.
Yeah. It was a fun little segment. I thought it was cool. Well shot, well filmed.
Yeah, it is nice. He took the full gear car. He wrote Team Taz's catchphrase on it, and then he set it on fire. So, symbolism.
It's his way of like that's his promo. Darby Allin doesn't cut verbal promos. He cuts physical promos.
Mm-hmm. He makes an example.
Yeah, it's very poetic. It's very filmic, and like it could not have worked in any other time in wrestling other than today because a lot more people are used to interpreting filmic language than they would have been in the 80s or in the 90s.
Yeah.
So like,
and a lot of that is thanks to like YouTube video essays and also just shorter viral clips being a thing now.
That and also like I think, for lack of a better way of describing it, the nichifying of wrestling as an entertainment form with less and less just mainstream casual fans has just like making a gravy, just like heightened and intensified the fervor and like the analysis of people looking into these stories. So like you can tell this kind of story of just like, because like back in the day, Sting's in the rafters. The commentary has to put over the fact that he's in the rafters. He's waiting for his time. They have to go over it over and over again of like, what does all this mean? With now, Darby Allin does this big metaphorical poetic stunt, and the commentary goes like, what does this mean? And they give interpretations, and it's like Excalibur goes like, oh no, this might be what it means, and like JR goes like, maybe he's just a little demented and it's trying to get out, and like it's interesting in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you just fucking roll your eyes at me?
No, you didn't leave anything for me to say there, so I was just like, okay, yeah, definitely.
Darby Allin's cool, and especially with the rumors going around about my favorite Wrestle Boy. Oh boy, I want to see that. Why am I burying the lead? There's been rumors that Aleister Black has nothing to do in WWE, and with his wife just being shit canned. I mean, I wouldn't. God damn, I'm not good with words right now.
So Aleister,
I wouldn't be afraid to.
We've never discussed this. Aleister is definitively your favorite Wrestle Boy. It's not Orange.
Orange Cassidy's one of my favorite Wrestle Boys. Aleister Black just fills so many tick boxes, and I'm just like, he's spoopy, he's gothy, he kicks the shit out of people. I have a picture with him. I saw him live.
So Alistair's like your guy. He's your write it out bitch, and Alistair's like your side boy.
Orange is my side boy.
Oh, sorry, I meant to say Orange.
Yeah, no, Orange is like one of my favorites. Like Alistair Black is one of my favorite wrestlers. So is Orange Cassidy. I will always be down for an Orange Cassidy match. I will always be down for an Alistair Black match. Like, it could have shit booking, and I would still be going like, yeah, no, it's Alistair Black. Fuck yeah, just give me the black mass.
So when are you gonna catch up on Raw?
Never.
I'll watch any Alistair Black. I'm never watching those Raw matches, dude.
No, fuck that shit. Because it's not. Because here's the thing: he's not giving him. They're not giving him a match. They're giving him shit.
That's true. And I mean, this is also coming from the guy who says Cody Rhodes is his favorite wrestler, but I've never watched like 80% of Cody's WWE work. I haven't seen.
You just need to watch the one Scooby-Doo movie where he's Stardust.
Yes.
Dude. But yeah.
But then
Powerhouse had a squash match.
Yeah, he went down and he made a nice little squash stew out of Lee Johnson, the latest Nightmare Family inductee. And that leads to a big angle where Taz comes down to the ring with a mic.
Real quick, before we get into that, can I just mention, I really love how Will Hobbs just kept going, hey man, it's nothing personal, it's just business. This is just business. I really like that texture to his character.
Yeah. Like, he just sees more opportunity with Team Taz.
And I think, honestly, that's just kind of the general vibe with Team Taz. It's just like, yeah, no, we're going to be assholes because it gets us what we want. This is just business.
Mm-hmm.
If being an asshole gets Brian Cage a title shot, let's do it.
Yeah. And keeping with that theme, Taz comes down to the ring. He sends Hobbs to the back, tells him he did a good job, but then he gets on the mic and he says he's sick and tired of the FTW not being recognized by AEW. He wants management to come out and make that an official title, which is kind of weird because they had an FTW championship match a few weeks back, and I thought that had legitimized it, but I guess that was just something Taz set up himself. But Taz's mic then gets cut off because he says he's not going to leave the ring until management comes out. So he gets Justin Roberts' mic, and that gets cut off too. So Cody comes out, and he's like, what the hell, man? You got to get out of here. You're holding up the show. What are you doing? And Taz is just pissed off at him. He says he's wasting his time, and they need to say, he says Darby and Cody are going to get whooped next week, and he's still not leaving until the title gets legitimized. And so Cody takes a deep breath because he doesn't want this to turn into an angle, clearly. And he says he will run the FTW championship idea up the flagpole. And he starts to leave, and Taz immediately goes, wow, really, you're going to run it up the flagpole? Are you gonna also next week wish me the best of luck on my future endeavors, buddy?
Let me guess. Creative has nothing for me.
Mm-hmm. Just basically calling out the fact that Cody came from WWE and that
he's kind of being a little WWE kind of shitty.
From time to time, he can be kind of like a WWE management. You know, Cody's whole thing is he has taken so many shots at Triple H because there's often been rumors that Triple H held him down behind the scenes at WWE. But also, Cody has a lot in common with Triple H and just the way he carries himself and whatnot. And I think that's a part of why I like Cody so much, because when I was getting into wrestling, Triple H was one of my favorite wrestlers. And so Cody gets pissed off at getting called out like this, and he immediately goes up to Taz and he says, you know what? If Team Taz is so great and you guys deserve so much legitimacy, why is your son Hook training at the Nightmare Factory with me instead of being a part of Team Taz? And so Taz is like, all right, you went too far there. Puts him into Taz mission, and the Gun Club and Dustin have to come out and chase him off. And then immediately Hook is right there at ringside, and it's like, oh, this gonna be a thing. They building a young star here. This gonna be a thing.
They're here's the thing. They're building a bunch of young boys just to be up in at the ready. Because you got Top Flight. Like, they're getting some storylines, but I feel like Top Flight, Hook, Austin Gunn. I don't know how old Austin Gunn actually is, because I feel like he may be a little bit on the older side comparative to some of them.
I think he's the same age as me. I think I heard that somewhere.
But those four guys, like maybe even Lee Johnson, they feel like, no, these five people, these five guys, we're gonna kind of keep them in the background. They'll be in things every once in a while, but we're gonna start building them up. We're gonna start training them. They're gonna be in our system. We're gonna have like our own NXT, but it's not a separate brand. It's just more of like a, hey, go out there, do some things, be here.
It's a class. It's a level on the card.
Well, it's learning by doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's got to be with all of them. Also, this isn't the first appearance of Taz's son. He was part of MJF's.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, he was the gum guy in MJF's cabinet
because he had the big scarf on his face.
Mm-hmm.
But like, goddamn, he does not look like his dad whatsoever.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Because his dad, short, squat, stocky, kind of Mediterranean skin, because he's Italian.
And Hook just looks like a white boy who's primed for Hollywood.
He's
like, can I be honest? He has that kind of look, like he's gonna be in a bunch of teen dramas in the next couple of years.
I mean, they have a good number of those in AEW. Just look at Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like, I don't. Does AEW have more handsome wrestlers?
I mean, that really depends on who you ask.
Because, like, goddamn, they have, like, Jungle Boy, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, if that's your type, Hangman Page, if you like the World Cowboy type, because he has, like, a fucking, like, country star face. Like, that's a face that can get him far in Memphis.
Mm-hmm. You want to know something hilarious? And this is kind of a sidetrack. I was watching 22 Jump Street for the first time the other night, and there's a like side character in that movie called Zook, and I was like, this guy looks so familiar. What? Is this Hangman? This guy looks like a young Hangman Adam Page. What the hell? And I went and IMDb'd him, and it wasn't Hangman Adam Page, but then I found out he's playing someone in the Captain America and Falcon and Winter Soldier show. Huh. And I was like, wow, this guy has been in this movie, a bunch of shit nobody's ever heard of, and now he's going to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he looks like Hangman Adam Page.
Who's he playing in Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I'll have to look it up again.
Okay. But while you're looking that up, Eddie Kingston gets an interview promo segment just going like, hey man, fuck Penta, fuck Ray, they joined back with that British fuck. Man, Butcher and Blade are gonna kick their ass. Man, I thought Penta was my best friend. And then Moxley comes up face to face, forehead to forehead, and Kingston goes like, man, you know it wasn't me. I got my own shit to fucking deal with. It wasn't me.
Oh, that's so great.
Because of course that's the first person Mox is going to think. It's like, oh, it's the guy I fucking humiliated in front of millions of people. Of course he's going to fucking attack me.
And I love how it's such a nice little moment, because I love how AEW is interweaving characters so much. Somebody on Squared Circle pointed it out the other night that, like, over the last 2 years, AEW has not felt like it's a wrestling show. It's felt like it's a legitimate TV show with plot lines and characters who are all developing and intersecting with each other where it's appropriate. It doesn't feel like just angle after angle after angle. It feels like, no, this is all the right path these characters have to take in order to develop into the people they're going to be. I don't know how long they can hold that up, but like that's just been such a cool thing about this promotion, and it really shined in this episode of Dynamite especially.
Honestly, I think it'd be easier to hold it up because you just look at like, okay, what are storylines we have going, and what are storylines that can be like second fiddle to those storylines that we can kind of use to add flavor.
Mhm.
You know, like, and there's some storylines that are kind of like solely on their own. They're kind of a little separate. Like later on, we'll talk about Miro and Kip and the best friends. Like that's kind of a little feud that's all on its own.
Yeah.
But like
Um,
you can see it becoming an influence on other feuds of like, oh hey, the best friends are helping these people out. Oh, but Miro's at ringside, they may fuck something up.
yeah. Also, that guy I was mentioning, his name is Wyatt Russell. Here's his IMDb link so you can see how he looks like Hangman. He's playing U.S. agent.
Okay, fuck yeah. A guy who looks like Hangman playing U.S. agent? Yes. Yes, give
Mhm.
me that.
I'm excited.
Because you know what U.S. agent is, right?
Yeah, he's like the fucked up Captain America who's a bitch to the government, right?
Yes, in the comics, what happened was the U.S. government said, "Hey, you can't be cap." Like, no, it was either the government said, "Hey, you can't be Captain America anymore, Steve," or Steve was like, "Yeah, no, fuck this shit. I'm Nomad now." And then the U.S. government was like, "Okay, we'll make our own Captain America. Here's our own Captain America." And then no, it was fuck. I know. I just watched something about this. So what it was, the government said, "Hey, you can't be Captain America anymore." So Steve Rogers went, "Fine, I'll just go by the Captain," and he got what we know as the U.S. agent costume. So that was his costume for a bit, and the American government had their own Captain America, which would eventually become the U.S. agent when Captain America became Captain America again, and he got the old captain costume. So it's weird,
Hmm.
but yeah,
But it,
cool.
it makes sense, especially with that character showing up post Cap disappearing at the end of Endgame. But that's entirely unrelated to Dynamite.
Yeah, no, that that's
Uh,
that's Disney. This is Warner Brothers.
yeah. Um, so Top Flight versus TH2 happened.
Yeah, I'm like good match. It feels like the little final blow off to this little tiff that TH2 is having against Top Flight, and it kind of legitimizes TH2 back into, I don't want to say like main event tag title competition, but more of like, oh yeah, TH2 is fucking awesome.
Yeah. And their whole thing for the last couple weeks is like, hey, we're fucking awesome. We got back to the States so we could be on the show. Why are we stuck on the mid card? Why are we on dark? We deserve a championship match. Young Buck Senpai, acknowledge us.
And especially with the fact that I can't remember who it is in TH2, they basically said like, yeah, no, we're terrible at giving pitches to ideas. This is like our place in the car. It's kind of our fault. We want to change that. I feel like, oh yeah, no, they're changing it.
Mm-hmm. And like you pointed out, there was that great tweet. Was it Jack Evans did about like how the Top Flight Boys are getting these opportunities way early on in their career, and he had to bust his ass at that age.
Yeah, I think it was Jack Evans. But like,
It's
yeah,
good
no, like
shit.
that's good. Like that's a good wrinkle to this whole thing because it's like, hey, at 21, I was walking these streets afraid of getting mugged, and here
Mhm.
you are sliding up to someone's DMs, getting this huge opportunity. Fuck you. It's
Yeah,
that same mentality of everybody going like, "Hey, I already fuck you. I paid for my college. Why do you get? Why should you get your college debt forgave? You know."
yeah. Not necessarily a face motivation, but an understandable heel motivation.
Which are always the best heel motivations. Speaking of understandable heel motivations, Vicky Guerrero cut a very cool promo against Brandy, basically saying like, "Hey, yo, Brandy, why the fuck are you so prominent in the women's division?"
Yeah, what's with all the fucking nepotism up in this place? Maybe it's your fault that the women's division has barely gotten anything to do. And all the while, Nyla Rose, who was champion for a good few months, is just standing back there. And it's like, okay, Vicky has a point, but also this is a little hypocritical.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just a good solid promo, and it builds up Nyla Rose's program against Brandy. It builds up Jade's program against Brandy. It builds up Brandy. It builds up Swole, and it's just like a continuation of that moment last week, which is good.
Yeah. So it's a nice little bit to keep you from forgetting about that, because that feud is probably going to be like, again, something that happens in the background over the next few months.
Especially because that one little segment had a couple different people. It had Nyla, it had Vicky, it had Jade, but it also had Brandy, Swole, and
Deeb.
Deeb. And I think one other person. I think one other person jumped in. I don't know. I don't remember.
So, this week, for the first time in a long time, I had some issues with my my feed. So I missed the next two segments. If you wanna talk about them, I only found out about them later through the Wrestle Talk review of this week's episode.
Yeah, no, FTR's promo, just like how they kind of said it, is like, hey, yeah, no, fuck you, we're pissed. We want our belts back. We're gonna earn them. We're gonna earn those belts back. We just don't want it. Like, we know we're not just gonna get a match, but like, fuck you, we're coming for our belts. Just belt chasers. That's what they need to be. Just solid promo work. And then Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, SCU. This is just a good match between all of them.
I caught like the last couple minutes of that match, and it seemed like the whole point of that was SCU were just outnumbered, because the entire inner circle was at ringside and just fucking with both of them.
Oh yeah, and it's also putting over what kind of MJF's role within their circle is. Mm-hmm. Because he's basically Chris Jericho on the outside, while Chris Jericho's Chris Jericho on the inside. I'm the smart, smarmy, slimy dude who's really willing to just immediately go like, nope, I'm cheating, fuck you. Because there was a cool bit where Kazarian's hanging on the rope, his head's on the outside, and MJF just clocks him with the diamond ring.
Oof.
Okay, that whole thing. And you're like, oh man, okay. And that, I don't remember if that led into... It didn't lead into the pen, but it was just like a oh shit moment. And then later on, he does someone decks MJF. I don't remember who. It was one of SCU. And then MJF went like, who fucking cold clocks a dude? Come on. After he did that.
Yeah, that was their whole promo backstage later.
Yep. But like, no, it was a fun match. It was good. And it builds, it basically builds, it's spinning plates.
Mm-hmm. I think we could just jump to real quick, because there was a promo backstage. MJF is just like, yeah, Frankie Kazarian's a coward for punching me, and Jericho's all pissed. He's got the bat. He's like, you know what, next week, me and you, Kazarian, 1-on-1, first time ever. And that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. But Miro and Kip were showing off the Xbox Series X.
Yep. And immediately Orange Cassidy just walks in and shuts it off. And it's like, excuse me, motherfucker, why are you touching our shit? And it just devolves into this giant brawl with Miro as the maddest boy of all time. And I loved it.
Just don't touch his shit. Don't break his shit. Don't touch his shit. It's his shit.
And I love that he wasn't like, hey, that's mine. He was like, hey, my wife bought me that, motherfucker.
With her WWE money.
But I genuinely did enjoy the setup for it, because they play it like it's going to be a legitimate gaming segment. And I'm like, how is this going to work on a wrestling show? Especially when they cut to Kip and him and Penelope and Miro are all wearing street clothes. And I'm just like, what's about to... And then Orange walks in. I'm like, okay, we're going to have some fun. Let's go.
Dude, I wouldn't mind Miro and Kip turning face when the game comes out so they can start promoting it.
That would be fun.
Hey guys, we got a game. Look at it. We're in it. Video games. But we got a Battle Royale announced for next week.
They're going to have another Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal next week, which I don't know if that's like whoever wins it gets the diamond? Are they going to get MJF's diamond? Did MJF agree to this? Is this a new diamond? Is it going to be like the last two guys are going to have a singles match the next week for the diamond? No idea. They just announced Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal next week as another little sweetener for the pay-per-view S card. So
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of also how they announced the Diamond Battle Royale fucking last time, so... I think it's just, oh no, you win it, you get another ring if you already have one. And I kind of want MJF to win it so he can get another ring, and it's just like, I have two of them. And eventually in 10 years' time, he does the fucking Emerald Knight cover.
Yes, you get to the. That's what I was gonna say. You get to the end of MJF's career, and he's just walking around with the most swag ever. Like his entrance is just him shaking his hands like Sasha Banks.
I mean, just like Emerald Knight, like Hal Jordan going like,
Yeah. But then Tony Schiavone is back in the ring for another attempt at the AEW World Contract signing. And Kenny Omega starts doing his entrance. There's a lot of stuff talking about how he's now in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. And the sweepers come out. We get the little retro prelude. We see Kenny standing in silhouette. And then all of a sudden, there's someone else in the tunnel.
It's vacant! It's vacant! It's vacant!
I never would have thought of that. That's great.
I saw it somewhere else.
But no, it's Jon Moxley. He attacks Omega, throws him into the ring. Mox gets on the mic and says whoever Omega hired to take him out did a piss poor job. Omega has pissed him off, and there's only one way for him to become champion, and that's to dig down deep and find Kenny Omega that everyone needs him to be. He's going to have to steady his hand, aim, and take his shot because he's only going to get one. Mox signs the contract, thanks Tony Schiavone, and then leaves.
Honestly, I don't think Kenny Omega hired anybody.
What do you think it is? Are you still going with the Kenta theory? Because I think Kenta sets up into this to dispute that.
Here's the thing. Of course he would. You want to hide that shit and get a good pop. Mm-hmm. But Kenta also just landed in Florida not that long ago.
I'm sorry, what?
Because Kenta lives in Florida.
Oh, I thought he had moved back to Japan.
No, he still lives in Florida. And if anybody New Japan were to do anything with AEW, it'd have to be the one who lives in Florida.
So you're thinking Kenta's going to interfere on Wednesday?
Because also, remember, Kenta's going after the American and IWGP champion.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what Moxley has.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, Mox had a fucking bloody nose. And what's Kenta's finishing move?
I know very little about Kenta, dude.
It's the go to sleep.
Mm.
And you know what the go to sleep is, right?
Yeah, I do. I've watched some CM Punk.
Yeah, that's who CM Punk's like copied it from.
Mm.
Kenta originated that move.
Yeah. Also, I think we had this exact same conversation last week.
Probably.
I mean, but no, this segment was so great.
Because I can't think of any other move that deliberately goes like, no, this gives you a bloody fucking nose.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I absolutely love this segment. Just because, like, I don't know, man, Moxley is still so amazing. Brian Alvarez said on Wrestling Observer Radio, it's still not time to beat him, but they're probably gonna do it. And I was just sitting there during both Kenny's promo earlier on in the show and this whole segment just going, these are the two coolest fucking guys in the world right now. Like, this is amazing. They've both been legitimately called the best wrestler in the world in the last few years, and they both legitimately feel like they could be the best wrestler in the world. And I don't feel like it's hype or hyperbole at all. I'm just in awe of both of them and the way they perform their characters and interact with each other, especially because it's like I feel like it's a little something of what people must have felt like during Rock versus Stone Cold.
Yeah, there's just so much going on with it. It's great. And like, here's the thing: if they take the belt off of Moxley now, and you go like, "Oh man, it feels a little too soon," it'll be all the sweeter when he gets the belt back
Mm-hmm.
one day. They go like, "Yeah, now we can get the full power of Moxley."
uh, but then we got the Inner Circle promo that we already talked about, and after that, it goes to Anna Jay versus Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's Championship. This match was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. I think it was really nice that they mostly built it around the fact that it's only a little over a year since Anna Jay made her not just her AEW but her wrestling debut, and it's like look at how far she has come because she debuted against Hikaru Shida, so you can directly compare her progress, and it was pretty solid. She got in some good offense, and then of course, it ends when she tries to cheat by using a steel chair, and Tay Conte, who's out there as her corner woman, is like, "No, don't do that. That's not how we're gonna win." And Sheeta is able to hit the Tamashi and wins the match, retaining the championship.
Yep. And then Spoopy Woman comes out and goes like, "Hey, I would like a title opportunity."
Yeah, that was. Oh my god. I was not expecting it at all. I had actually forgotten that Abaddon had been on the injury shelf for a little while. So when she came out, I was like, oh my god, Abaddon, haven't seen you in a while. You look like you've been working on yourself a little bit, lady. You're looking great. You're like, oh, that's it's not the most sanitary thing to do with a belt, but okay. Interesting way of making your interest in the title known.
Hey, it's good. It's spoopy. It's a foreshadowing of how bloody the match is gonna be.
I also love that Sheeta just immediately looked like the shit had been scared out of her.
It's like, fuck,
I
I don't want
actually
to deal
wrote
with a
here,
fucking ghost.
yeah, like I thought maybe like Sheeta might be the one to be like, no, I'll take you on, it's fine. But no, she's as scared as every other woman in the locker room was after Abaddon debuted. It's it's kind of great, and I'm excited for Abaddon to be played like kind of this monster heel in the women's division when in reality she's probably one of the smallest members of that roster.
Yeah, but hey, she can punch up.
Yeah. Uh, then we go backstage, and Big Modesty Matt cuts a promo talking about basically how he's overcome 2020, even with all the obstacles placed in front of him, and now that all of his bullshit is behind him, and he's had the elite deletion. It's time for him to start moving towards the future, and it's time for everyone to start thinking, what would Matt do?
When Matt's not on screen, everybody needs to be asking, "Where's Matt?"
It's great. Also, I think this was the first Dynamite appearance of Big Modesty Matt, as I'm calling him.
It may just be like a new version of Big Money Matt because like that's already an established thing, and that seems to be Matt's. I don't want to say modus operandi right now, but it seems to be like no, Matt likes to repurpose his older stuff in AEW. Like it was like, hey, this is a new version of Broken. Oh, hey, this is a new version of just like regular old Matt Hardy. It's like new mentor, kind of like, nah, man, you need to stop with this bullshit and be a better person. Fuck you, I'm Matt Hardy. And now it's like a new version of Big Money Matt. And hopefully by the time we get a crowd, we get another new Broken because fuck yeah, Broken.
But no, it was a decent little promo.
Yeah.
And then we got another decent little promo where Ricky Starks is backstage with Will Hobbs and Brian Cage. He says that Taz and Hook have left the building because they're both so pissed off about what happened. And Cody crossed the line. And, you know, Ricky Starks loves it in AEW, but Cody's ego keeps getting in the way of everything that him and Team Taz want to do. And he's looking forward to beating the shit out of Cody next week in the tag match. Decent little promo. I wasn't blown away by it, but like it was a nice little establishment build into the match that's coming next week, and it gave Ricky Starks a little more stake in it character-wise.
It wasn't meant to make things bigger. It was meant to make things. It was meant to keep the foot on the pedal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, remember this is happening.
A little more fuel for the fire. I knew you were gonna do that.
No, you didn't. Fuck you.
And then we get a quick little announcement that next week we are getting Dr. Britt Baker DMD versus Layla Hirsch. I'm taking bets. Do you think this is going to be a squash match putting over Britt, or do you think this is going to be an enhancement match showing how badass Layla is?
I prefer the second one, just because, hey, we're really building up the women's division. Wouldn't it be cool to have another prominent woman taking down what is essentially their biggest heel?
Yeah, me too, especially with how much they put over Layla on Dark a couple weeks ago. I mean, remember how I was talking about how she's like a small fix Shayna Baszler? I think that could be a huge draw for them if they play her right and position her right within the roster. And this might be a good first step for doing that on Dynamite.
Oh, yeah, because in the women's division right now we have Nyla Rose, who is big, fuck you, monster, I'm strong, I can push you around. Hikaru Shida, who is spunky, Shonen Pro Tag, like fucking... fuck you, I'll fight you. Abaddon, spoopy girl. Anna Jay, slightly less spoopy girl. Tay Conte, like underdog. Having a big, just MMA kind of person would just work.
Yeah.
Just round things out.
It's exciting. I'm looking forward to see how that match is gonna go. But then we had the main event of The Butcher and the Blade versus Rey Fenix and Pac. How did you feel about this match?
It was fine. I feel like they're holding things back to do bigger and better things later on. Which, with the way Pac and Rey Fenix kind of wrestle, I'm perfectly fine with that. I want keep as much in the tank as you guys can for the big matches. Know what I mean?
Yeah. It definitely feels like they're holding things back for like maybe a pay-per-view blow-off that could be coming in February, because I think that's when Revolution is happening.
This was a storyline match, not a match.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Blade does win the match. He pins Phoenix after interference for Eddie Kingston, because Eddie Kingston was like on commentary for 10 minutes, maybe not even that, and then he just immediately went down to the ring and was like, "Oh, this is bullshit. I'm gonna help my friends." And then
I'm gonna help my friends by fucking over my other friends.
Yep. And then he got in the ring and he DDT'd Pac on a steel chair twice before Lance Archer came out and demolished the entire family, sending Eddie and them running for the back. And he basically says he hasn't forgotten what happened in the Casino Battle Royal, and he's coming for Eddie. Which was pretty badass and kind of came out of nowhere. I certainly had forgotten about that.
Also, remember, Lance Archer was supposed to get a big title shot opportunity against Moxley, but he got injured. No, he got he was near someone who had COVID, so they needed to replace him, and they replaced him with Eddie Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Kingston also used DDT, so Jake the Snake was probably like, "Fuck that guy, go fuck him up."
Yeah,
I don't like him. Fuck him. Go fuck him up. It's a
whole thing. But no, that was Dynamite, and that was wrestling for this week. Very dense, very interesting week, I think.
Oh yeah, a lot of fun like bits and bobs, but this is very much like, I don't want to say holding pattern. It was a ramp up, but it's like, no, the climax is next week. We're getting ready for that.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that card is pretty stacked. I don't think we're going to get our hour-long Moxley versus Omega match. Possibly 30 or 40 minutes, though.
Yeah. But speaking of climax,
Jesus, dude. So you do want to do this? I had meant to ask you before we went live.
Yeah, because here's the thing: we're about like 80 to 85% done with it, and it's mostly
Uh-huh.
on my end that needs to be worked on. So you're whatever. So it's on me, but kind of just going like, hey, this is a thing. Would essentially
We are making a John Silver dating sim.
because we're taking a joke way too far.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, back when the AEW Games live stream happened, Evil Uno was tweeting out a bunch of ideas. He was like, hey, there should be a kart racing game, there should be this, there should be that. And one thing he tweeted was John Silver dating sim. And people grabbed onto that. That tweet got a lot of traction, even some fan art. And this motherfucker was just like, no, we could do that. And I was like, yeah, that would be funny. And he's like, no, we're doing that. Write a script. We're doing that. And so,
If I remember right, what I said was, no, we could do that. I know how to make one. I just need a script.
yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking it up. So
over the course of 3 days, I wrote a script for this thing, and you have been coding it ever since. And wow, 85% complete. That's impressive.
because all of your script is currently formatted in the programming file.
Mm.
So all of the script is in there. It's mostly adding the visuals and the transitions and the scenes. And also, I got some code working for it so I can have the screen shake.
Wow.
So when like Brody Lee like pushes someone, the screen will shake because
That's great. I have played some of an early build for it, and it was pretty well done. But you weren't doing anything like that yet, so I'm excited to see how to.
That's mostly because I didn't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of this has been, because I've always been interested in game development and that kind of stuff. So this was also my excuse of just going like, this is a dumb, simple project that I can just do to get it done. And hey, it's a meme, so we can just send it to Evil Uno and go like, hey, we made the thing for you. You want to play it?
So, are we looking at an actual release date yet, or are we just saying coming soon right now? Because this is the first time I've talked to you about this in like a week.
Coming soon. It's coming soon. No official release date. I'd say by next MMWP, we'll have a more definitive clearing. This isn't going to be Cyberpunk 2077. We're not going to delay a ton of things. Because we're not going to make an announcement of like, oh, it's coming out on this day, and then say it's delayed. No, when it's pretty much damn near completion, like I could finish it up that night and release it tomorrow, that's when we'll say it's done.
Hey, quick plug, join the subreddit and follow the Twitter. It'll probably be announced that it's up there first.
Okay, yeah, no, it's back here. Is it?
I don't know.
I'm trying to find it. Because I'm looking at Jeff Hardy was an e-girl.
No, dude, it's in your video games chat.
Is it?
Yeah.
Video games question mark. There's the new The World Ends With You shit. Because we gotta fucking talk about that tomorrow. Oh, yeah. So you tweeted, you pasted Evil Uno's tweet. Evil Uno sources claim that they have a mock-up art for a John Silver dating sim AEW games. You said this fucking guy. You know we could make that.
Bro.
Dude, write a script. I know just enough Python to use Renpei for 1 hour shit post about a fave.
I will do that right after I catch up on BT tomorrow. People are just gonna spam 2K. Okay, that was about the freaking live chat for the game stream.
Yeah. Oh man. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, it's certainly gonna be a thing.
But yeah. Do we want to announce the name of the game?
Oh shit! I thought we had done that.
No.
Yeah, it's gonna be called Dream Johnny.
The first production from ModMed. Because I made a video game logo, a video game company logo too.
Yep. Because we are just as good at branding as AEW apparently.
Yeah. It's a little hinky, the logo. It can be better, which one day it will be.
Yeah. But it's a start. It's a solid start.
Yeah. But that was Modular Media Wrestling Podcast. That was Wrestling for the Week. So, V-Man,
Excuse me?
tell him your shit.
Okay.
Be a slut.
Hi. All right, I mean, if you insist. Hi, everyone. I'm the Vacuuminator. I make YouTube videos. You can find me at youtube.com/thevacuuminator. That's THCVACUUMINATOR. I do stuff about tokusatsu and toys and comics and television in general. I'm currently about to enter into production for What If Power Rangers Megaforce Was Good, the long-awaited sequel epilogue thing to my big hit series, Power Rangers Megaforce Sucks. So definitely go subscribe and look forward to that. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Vacuuminator and on Instagram at The Vacuuminator, where I post toy photography and stuff.
Alrighty. Hey, howdy, I'm Boingo writer Chris Gaston. I do a lot of video essay editorial things, and now apparently a game dev.
Look at this boy, growing and learning.
You can follow me on Twitter at Boingo_writer. You can follow me on Instagram at Boingo_writer. You can follow me on Twitch at Boingo Writer, and you can join my Discord server. Link to that will be in the description. It's not in there right this moment because we're doing this live, and it's not in the description.
I'll update it when this is posted as a video.
Yeah. But as always, this was a part of Modular Media, a creative worker co-op, essentially. We have no capital. This isn't really a business. It's a bunch of fuckers just going like, hey, let's fucking do shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day, we'll make a game and it will be an actual game.
It's coming.
So, tune in next Thursday. We didn't do it this Thursday because of American holidays and such. But tune in next Thursday where we will be discussing another week in professional wrestling. I have been your host.
And I have been a person who was also here and said things.
All right, fuck you.